Dear participants, very good afternoon to all. Dear participants, very good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to thank our management, our correspondent, our principal, and our HOD, and our fellow and my fellow staff for their encouragement and giving an opportunity to share my views and ideas regarding the blockchain. I'm going to give a brief intro regarding this blockchain. So it's an intro topic, so I'm not going to take it into much deeper or much technical, since our audience or our participants are from various groups. Maybe some may in entry level, some may in expert level, some may in mid level. So just I want to give a brief intro regarding this blockchain. So as I told, it will not be a much technical one. For our better understanding, just some practical examples will be there. So based on that examples, we are going to learn what the blockchain is and how it's working. Right. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge and thank the authors of the contents, like images, figures, as well as text, which are used in this presentation. So for their sincere effort, for their sincere work, so and all, because so the lot of images I have included are from web resources as well as from uh, various articles. So first, I would like to acknowledge them and thank them. Right. So the agenda for this session is, first, I want to discuss what not blockchain is, because whenever we are saying about blockchain, we will recall something different in our mind. So first, I want to say what not the blockchain is, and then the background idea. So what makes blockchain this much familiar, or what's the background idea behind this invention of this blockchain, and this much make it familiar. And next, we are going to see the formal definition. So formal definition of the blockchain, and then the key characteristics of blockchain. So in this, I am going to take some more time in this background idea and the formal definition, and then I am going to introduce these key characteristics, and next the key benefits of the blockchain, and so the key concepts for the business. So what are all the concepts that are all taken for the business? So the key concept for the business, and finally the participants and their rules. So what are all the participants going to involve in the blockchain, and what is their role? So these are the things we are going to discuss it in this session. So as I already told, so considering the various group of participants and various group of people, so this will be not a much technical one. So it will be having some practical examples to understand the concept in a simple manner. Right. So first of all, as I told, what blockchain is not. So whenever we are talking about the blockchain, so immediately we will think of this Bitcoin, because even most of our people or most of us will think Bitcoin is blockchain. So I don't know how many of you have listened the inaugural session. The chief guest addressed that Bitcoin is not the blockchain. So I'm also want to say the same thing. So the Bitcoin is entirely different. So which makes use of the blockchain concepts. See, we all are belong to technical field. So if we take a real-time example means, for example, if I am using a computer, in this I'm having Windows 10 as an operating system, right? So Windows 10 as operating system, or we can have Windows 7 or Windows 8 as an operating system, which is a system software. And we can say we may use multiple application software. Maybe for a browser, for a web browser, we may use Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, or we may use uh, Chrome or Firefox. Okay, so the Bitcoin is similar to the application software, okay, which is executed in the platform called Windows 10 or Windows 7 or Windows 8, the system software, right? So this is the key thing behind the blockchain. So blockchain concepts are incorporated and used in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency. Okay, that's a cryptocurrency, and they are using some protocols. Actually, we are having a lot of cryptocurrencies like Litecoin, Ethereum. Like we have a lot of cryptocurrencies, but since the Bitcoin is a very most familiar one, we are thinking, or whenever we are saying the blockchain, the Bitcoin is coming into our mind. Maybe whenever I think I started to learn the Bitcoin at 2015, I think. So at the time, the value of Bitcoin is one Bitcoin equal to, I think, 6 lakhs. But now it's almost crossed 12 lakhs. Maybe that reason we may think Bitcoin whenever we recall the blockchain. But actually, this is not. As I told, so blockchain is the major concept. The Bitcoin make uses of this particular blockchain, right? So these two things are entirely different, right? Next, coming to the concept, right? What's the background idea for this particular uh, blockchain, or what makes this blockchain this much familiar? Okay, that's a very important thing. So actually, this is the thing we are thinking for the blockchain, or we are going for the blockchain. Actually, we need a rational decision making process. Okay. For that, what we are doing is decentralized distributing computation and information sharing platform that enables multiple authoritative domains who do not trust each other to cooperate, coordinate, and collaborate in a rational decision making process. Okay, so we want to achieve this particular thing. So we have to make some rational decision making process. So for that, we are in need of some computation model and some information sharing platform, right? So this can be done using individual or a group of platforms or a multiple authoritative domains. That means, so the domains or the nodes are authoritative one. But the important characteristics is they do not trust each other. Okay, maybe n number of nodes or peers may connected together to achieve this task, but the important property is they do not trust each other, but they will combinedly, they will cooperate, they will coordinate, they will collaborate to achieve this decision making process. So this is the ultimate concept. So we know whenever the internet era is started, so the information sharing platform, the scope of the information sharing platform is increased, right? But now we want to do a decision making process too, right? So for this decision making process, individual nodes may not capable to do these things. So for that purpose only, we are in need of n nodes, or we are in need of n number of peers to do these things. So for this, we do some kind of computation which is a decentralized one. Okay, you may ask why this is decentralized. Okay, that we will going to see it in the upcoming slides, because there are a lot of models we can say, majorly centralized, decentralized, distributed. Here in blockchain, we are going to use decentralized one. Okay, that things we are going to discuss it in a detailed manner in the upcoming slides. Right. First, let me introduce two persons called as Alice and Bob. So for a traditional communication system. Okay, so before the internet era, or we can say before the computation era, so what it happened, right? So if I want to share a document means, for example, Alice creates a document, Maybe she writes something in it or she types something in it, and for sharing, she is giving it to the Bob. Now, Bob wants to update the document. So, after receiving it from the allies, so he is updating his document and then he is sending it to allies back. So, maybe it may be a correction or it may be some kind of updation, whatever it may be. Right. So, this is the traditional one. Actually, when the internet era came, so we are going to use two-way communication, maybe Google Docs or Microsoft OneDrive. If we take these things as an example, so this document will be stored in a centralized server. Yes. So maybe Google, if you are having Google account credentials, means you can share it to a number of users, so that a number of users may use this particular document and they may access it simultaneously, which is not possible in the previous thing. Okay, in the previous thing, actually, there will be a one-way communication. Either Alice can update it at a time or Bob may update it in a time. Okay, here the simultaneous process is blocked. So when the centralized process introduced, so here, so two user or n number of users can simultaneously access the particular single document. Right, so for that only I have explained that one. So for example, if you are taking a Google document, means if you are working in a corporate, means they will be sharing it in a common domain, so anyone can take that document. See, if you are taking a Excel, means for example, if your college or your organization is asking for some detail, so they are giving the rows, means so you will enter the rows or you will fill the columns. Yes. So if they share it in a common drive, means like Google document, so all the employees can update it at a time. So it will not affect, because so it is connected to the internet and it has some synchronization norms. So based on the synchronization norms, it will be synchronized and it will be updated. But you see, this is a centralized one. So don't think of the Google document. See, if it is a corporate one, corporate server, okay, whether it may be a college server or institute server, maybe a IT company server, whatever it may be. If you're taking a single server, means, right? So if all the documents are put together, right? So all the documents are put together, or this current document which I want to update is in the particular Google Drive, or sorry, I can say it as I cannot say it as a Google Drive. It's maybe an organization drive, or it may be an a college single server, right? So if the servers fails, means this document cannot be accessed at any cost. Yes. So because all the things are connected through network only, maybe it may have single server, or if the corporate company or if the colleges use some advanced technologies, means maybe they may have some backups, or they may use secondary server, secondary primary server, secondary server, maybe a number of servers they may use. But if the primary server failed, means the backup process will take some time. Yes. Or if they don't have any backup process, means so the entire communication will be failed, so they cannot access the document. So this is the major drawback in the centralized schemes. So this is the main key idea behind the blockchain. So only we are moving to the decentralized concept, right? So as the definition says, so we are moving for a decentralized or distributed computation model. But actually in the uh, blockchain, we are going to use decentralized one. See, each and everything is having its own advantages and own drawbacks. If it's centralized, means it will have one coordinator and n number of peers. Okay, if one peer failed means, then there will be no issues. But if the coordinator failed means, there is no way for the communication, so that nodes cannot be communicate with other nodes. So this will be the major problem in the centralized node. So only we are moving towards these decentralized nodes. Here there will be n number of peers, and each set of peers having some centralized nodes, or we can say it as coordinator. Okay, right? For this group there is a coordinator, and for this group there is a coordinator. So likewise, some set of peers having some kind of coordinators. So if a peer failed means, okay, there is not a there will not be any kind of problem, because that peer only get lost, right? If any one of the coordinator failed means, in this decentralized system, so the all the peers will be connected to the neighboring or neighbor coordinator. So neighbor coordinator, it will be connected, so that the processing will be done. Actually, these coordinators will be come to a mutual agreement, so that they will communicate in a error-free, or what we can, in a trusted manner. Okay, so all the copies will be in all. Sorry, if a transaction happen means, all the copies will be stored in the all the coordinator here. So there will not be a problem. If a coordinator failed means, all the peers will be connected to the neighboring coordinator. Right. So this is the advantages of decentralized one. But here one more drawback is there in decentralized computation too. If the communication path is failed means, okay, in between the two coordinator, if the communication medium is broken means, the peers cannot connected to the next coordinator. So that is the drawback in the decentralized. So further, the distributed system is introduced. You see, in the distributed system itself, it has its own merits and its own demerits. In distributed system, there is no coordinator. So all the peers, or all the nodes will have some copies. All the nodes will do some tasks. All the nodes will coordinated and cooperated and collaborated to do some task. But since the lack of the coordinator may cause some kind of disturbances, right? So for that purpose, we are selecting this decentralized architecture for the blockchain. So this is the base idea behind this blockchain, right? You see, again, I'm coming to the same thing. So since it is decentralized, so Alice will have her own copy, and as well as Bob, he will be having his own copy. So at their end, they will update, and they will store it in a place called internal, or it may be a server, or it may be a number of nodes. But you see, they will be keeping their local copy with themselves. So this is the very key and base idea behind this decentralized concept. Right. So now we want to introduce the blockchain technology. So this blockchain technology is introduced in the place of this internet, because in internet we cannot say that data will be confidential one. We cannot say it will be always available to all the people, and the integrity of the data, that we cannot assure these things in the internet. So for these things only, we are going to introduce the concept called blockchain, because whenever we are talking about this security, we know the CIA triad, right? So whenever we are talking about this security, so the first one is the confidentiality. So we need our data should be secure. So our data should be a secured one. It should be a secret one, which should not be known to other people. At the same time, the integrity and availability, it should not always maybe denial of service attacks, right? So it should available all the time for all the users. Right. So here only we are going to introduce the blockchain concept. Right. Now we are going to see the formal definition of this particular blockchain. Yeah. So actually, I have taken two different definitions from two different resources. So first one says the blockchain is a shared immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in a business network. Right? So as per this definition, you see, blockchain is a shared one. Right. So as we discussed in the last slide, so we are going to share our content. Right. We are going to share our transaction. We are going to share our document. Right. So it is a shared one. And the very most important thing is it should be a immutable ledger. Right. So share and immutable ledger. So immutable in the sense it should not be changed at any cost. Right. So any transaction may happen at any reasons or at any time. So that transaction should not be changed over time or for any reason. So it should be always committed. It should not be rolled back. Right. So that's what it is saying as a immutable ledger. So here what it does is, so it is going to record all the transactions and tracking assets. Okay, so here when we're saying about assets, it may be a tangible assets or intangible assets. So tangible assets in the sense whatever we are seeing it in a physical manner, maybe a car, or maybe a land, or whatever it may be. So all kind of tangible assets, so related transactions, we can record it. And the intangible, so it may be a bond, mortgage, or what we say, some kind of agreements, so whatever it may be. So these transactions also should be recorded and it should be shared. Okay, while we are coming speaking about sharing, actually these topics are going to be covered in the upcoming sessions. So just I want to give an introduction. So sharing in the sense, so we are going to share our ledger. So here again, whenever it's about sharing, it will be in a private mode, it will be in a public mode, as well as it will be in a hybrid mode. Because some kind of ledgers may not be shared to public. For example, if I am working in a college, so if I am seeing admission related duties or some collection, fees collection oriented duties, means that document or that transaction should not be shared with the external authorities. Yes. So that is a private one. Public, when we're saying about bitcoins, yes, it's a public cryptocurrency or some other cryptocurrencies. We are saying about means, so that should be shared in a public manner. So the problem in the public is it can be tampered. Right. The next one is, as I told, hybrid. For example, if you are taking some government records, maybe land records, you are taking it, means it will be in a hybrid for, because some data should be available to the user or citizens of India, and some should be only known to the particular registers, yes, or sub-registers. So that will be in the format of uh, hybrid. So these three kinds, three modes. In these three modes will be the ledger will be shared, and as I told, immutable, it should be commuted. So we are going to record each and every transaction that is going to happen in the tangible assets as well as intangible assets. That will be in a recorded in a ledger. That ledger should be shared one and it should be a immutable one. Right. So this is one definition in point of the business view, as well as, so one more definition almost similar to the previous one only. See, the blockchain is an open. Okay, here we use the term shared. Here it is open. That means accessible to all. As I told, it may be in a format of private mode or public mode or in a hybrid mode. And then it should be in a distributed or decentralized ledger. As I told, it should not be maintained in a centralized ledger. If the centralized node is failed means the entire blockchain will be stopped. Right? So for that particular purpose, we are moving for this distributed or decentralized ledger. Here again, so it can record the transaction between two parties. Okay, so whenever we are saying about the transaction, it will be happen between any two parties, right? So and then very important thing is it should be recorded in a manner of efficient, verifiable, and in a permanent way, right? So that is the very important one, right? So it should be in an efficient manner because we cannot we don't say like so it's doing some kind of process, so it will be slowing down the entire system, so we should not say like that. And the verifiable, so each and every transaction should be verified. So if any illegal transactions happen or if any unauthorized transaction happen means that should not be recorded, that should be stopped, that transaction should not be happen. So that is the verifiable, and it should be in a permanent way as I told. So we should commit it whenever the transaction is successful means, so it should be committed, it should be recorded in a immutable manner, and it should not be rolled back to the previous thing. So this is the formal definition for the blockchain, right? So let us have in detail view about this particular definition, right? So first, why it's called as blockchain? So the term, right? Actually, here each and every transactions or the data will be stored in a block, right? So all the data will be stored in a blocks. And for example, here I noted 1574 is the first block. So here some data is coming and I have filled this particular chunk or particular block. So using some hash values, because as we told here the confidentiality is very important. So we are storing it in a hash manner. So actually in a blockchain, usually this hash will be generated using SHA-256 algorithm. Right. So using the SHA-256 algorithms only. So these blocks will be hashed, and this hash will be stored as a digital signature or a fingerprint, and it will be stored in this kind of blocks. See, next one more block of data is coming. So this data will be stored in the another block and it will be chained with the previous one. Again, one more block is coming. Again, this once it is filled means this will be chained with the previous block. So this is what it is called as blockchain. Right. Here comes the confidentiality, or we can say the security. If anyone or any illegal or any unauthorized user wants to tamper means all the block values will be changed. All the block values will be changed. You see, for example, I have given it as in the first block, the hash code is hash 6F9. And when it comes to second block, that first block code is link and the second block code is store. And when it comes to third block, so all these things are linked and the third is store. So likewise, so each and every block will be tightly coupled. So if any of the values or any of the data is changed means it will affect all the things. So it is very easy to identify those things, right? So this is the reason this blockchain is introduced. So again, as I told, the name itself come from this one. So we are going to store the data in a blocks and we are putting it in a chain manner. Right. Next. So we are discussing it about the ledgers. Right. So for this again, I am going to take it example. Right. maybe the same persons are coming, Alice and Bob. So here I'm taking a banking application or banking example. See, in a traditional banking systems, or we can say before 3 decades, so that they will maintain ledgers, you know. So for example, if this is the ledger page for Alice, so just I'm telling it for an example. Okay, so this is the ledger page for Alice, and this is the ledger page for Bob, right? So now Alice wants to deposit rupees 100 in her account. So some date will be written, okay, and account number, and then amount. So this will be credited in this account in the name of Alice at the particular day. Right. Now you see the Bob. Bob wants to store rupees 500, or he wants to deposit rupees 500. So first that day, Bob's account number and some other details. So maybe which mode of transaction, like cash or check or DD or whatever it may be. And then finally the price, sorry, the cash, how much he deposited. Right. And now see the Bob wants to what do we say, withdraw rupees 50. Okay, so again date, so this will be as credit mode. So date, account number, so this will be in a debit mode. So maybe cash or check or DD or whatever it may be, so 50, and the remaining amount as 450, maybe in as a balance amount, right? So likewise, if Alice wants to withdraw rupees 90 means, okay, likewise similarly it will be 10. Okay, so in the process of debit, so remaining it will be 10. Right. If, for example, let me say now Bob wants to transfer this amount, remaining amount in this maybe rupees, we can say it as 400. 400 to Alice means this is very easy, because it's a they are having account in a same bank, and almost their even the pages are also nearby pages, so it's very easy to validate these things, and it will be credited to the Alice account. But practically you see, actually Bob will not be in the same page. Maybe he may in the last page and Alice may in the first starting or within 20 page, right? So they have to search, and they have to check whether Bob is having sufficient balance, and if he is having sufficient balance means, then only they will transfer the amount to the Alice. So all these things will be written in this particular ledger. Here we know in banking sectors they won't strike out any transactions in these ledgers. That means they won't roll back. Right? This is the traditional system. Right? So they won't roll back, or they won't strike out, they won't put whitener to this particular transaction. Once if it is recorded means that is recorded. If suppose the Bob wants to cancel this 400 means, again it will be recorded in a new row. It will be recorded in a new row as this particular transaction is cancelled on this particular date, and the remaining balance will be 450. And if they credited here means, again they will minus those things and they will keep the original balance, right? So this is the traditional thing. So they cannot what we say, they cannot roll back. So we may use stock registers in our colleges or in our organization, so we know. So if a component is recorded in a stock register means we cannot roll back it. So the recorded thing is recorded, right? So now I want to take it to one more thing. Now Bob wants to transfer this 400 to some other people in some other bank, which is located geographically located in a distance place. Right? Here comes the complication, because you see, in olden period, so if we want to transfer it to some other's account means, so here first these bank people should update in their ledger, and they should send it to this particular bank, and later these bank people should update in their ledger. So after that only it will be reflected in their account, right? So this is the traditional way of communicating or recording it in the ledgers, right? So here we can say, easy drawback. So it's a time consuming one. So the security, because in this transaction anyone can capture this letter, or anyone can tamper this one and change the value, right? So the security is important concern here. The time factor is important concern here, right? And one more thing I want to introduce now. If Alice wants to send rupees 50 to Bob, okay, again you see here the amount is balance amount is rupees 10 only. So if she wants to send it to Bob means that is impossible, right? Again, they have to refer the page numbers. As I told, Alice and Bob will not be in same page, so they have to move to a number of pages, or they have to turn a number of pages for this particular thing. So these are the very important drawbacks that are faced in the traditional ledgering system, even in the digitalized ledger too. Right. So for these reasons, we are going to introduce the blockchain. So here in the blockchain too, each and every records will be stored. Right. But here each and every transaction will be recorded based on some agreements. Right? That agreement should be agreed by all the parties. As I told, this is not a centralized one, this is a decentralized one. So this particular ledger, as in the traditional model, this ledger will not be shared with this bank, right? So there comes the problem. But in the decentralized mode, so the ledger should be shared with each and every person who are all involved in this particular blockchain concept, right? So for this purpose, I'm going to introduce two more characters. Maybe I can name him as Dave, and name her as Kat, right? So here we are going to do some transactions. So this is purely blockchain oriented, right? So initially Dave is having rupees 100 in his account, which is the transaction is written in the public ledger of Dave, right? As well as this copy will be sent to all the participants who are all going to involve or involving in this particular what we say, a particular blockchain. So Bob is also having the transaction in his public ledger. Cathy is also having that particular transaction in her public ledger, as well as Alice is having that transaction in her public ledger. See, actually, just for example, for the understanding purpose, just I am giving it as Dave 100 rupees. Actually, this in the blockchain, the transaction will be stored in a detailed manner, right? So in what timestamp he deposited rupees 100, and in what time, in what mode, and in which place. So likewise, all the data from the origin all the data will be stored in this particular public ledger. So if anyone wants to violate anything, means like some transaction done, and if they want to violate the agreement, or what we can say, if they want to tell like no, I didn't do the transaction, likewise if they are telling, means that can be easily identified. So that is the major advantage of blockchain, right? So every transaction will be stored in a very detailed manner. So that is the major advantage of the blockchain. So only the governments or wanting this blockchain technologies should be familiarized, and they want to incorporate in their public space, like maybe in the land records, in the police stations, and in the lot of things, in military things. So likewise they want to incorporate this blockchain, because for example, if I want to say an example, means, so if a criminal is there, police is there, so they want to trace some details of this criminal, means maybe this criminal may delete his history from his browser, as well as he may delete his history from the activity logs, because I think you hope you know the activity log of Google, right? If you don't know, means kindly go to myactivity.google.com, so you can see all the activities that you are doing in your mobile phone as well as in your laptop, right? So I think activity.google.com, I think, let me share it in the chat window. That is myactivity.google.com or google.co.in, we can say it as. Actually what it's do is, okay, actually these things will be in the mobile too. Okay, if you visit this page, means you can see each and every transaction or each and every steps we have done it in our mobile phone, or we have done it in our laptop. All the things will be recorded, like how many times you have opened the WhatsApp, how many times you have opened the Facebook app, how many times you have opened the Insta app, how many times you have opened the phone app, messaging app. Like this, all the things will be stored, right? So as I told that example, one criminal and one police, right? If even the criminal is deleted this activity, means he may think that it is deleted from the server, but actually it is not. That will be stored in the Google server for their security reasons, right? So this is the main advantage of blockchain, right? Okay, coming to our example here. So Dave is having rupees 100, so all of their all other users or all other peers public ledger is entered with that particular transaction. So everyone is having that detailed thing. Now this Dave wants to give rupees 600 to cat, right? So it will be 600 to cat. So this again will be recorded in the public ledger of Dave under certain condition. So what the condition? So Dave is having rupees 1,000 in his account, right? So that he can provide rupees 600 to Cathy. So here, when coming to this, so each and every peers will come to an mutual agreement, because the constraint here is, or the smart contract. So that regarding the smart contracts, that and all you are going to see it in the upcoming sessions, right? So they will be having a smart contract. So what it is, so beyond this 1,000 rupees, that Dave should not send it to, or should not give money to anyone. So below 1,000 rupees, he can give it to any people in this particular peers or in this group. So whenever he comes to give rupees 600 to Cathy, so each and every participants will check their public ledger. So everyone will be check their public ledger for these smart contracts. Okay, whether this transaction can be recorded, this can be done first, this transaction can be executed, and then this transaction can be recorded. Now as per the smart contract, so above 1000, greater than 1000 only he cannot give it to anyone. So below 1000 he can give it to anyone. So he is checking. While checking, so the condition is satisfied. So this transaction will be, or this thing will be executed in a successful manner, and then this will be stored in each and every peer's public ledger. So each and every peer's public ledger, you see, so they to cat rupees 600. So all people public ledger will be updated, as well as you see one more thing will be updated. So now Cathy is having 600 in her account and Dave is having 400 in his account. So likewise it will be recorded. You see, as again I am telling, so as per this smart contract and the blockchain norms, this cannot be undone or this cannot be rolled back. Okay, once executed means that's all. If you want to cancel means, again this should be executed as a transaction. That means this Cathy should be deposited. This Cathy should deposit rupees 600 to Dave. Otherwise, this transaction will not be erased. Even at that time also, it will not be erased. It will be stored as, so Cathy is giving 600 to Dave. So it will be added as a new row to each and every person's public ledger. Right? Okay. Now, Dave wants to give one more 600 to Alex. Right? You see, now actually Dave is having rupees 400 only. So as per the smart contract, so the smart contract also will be updated in a periodical manner. So here, as per the smart contract, so greater than 400, so Dave cannot send it to anyone, as well as greater than 600, Cathy cannot send this amount to anyone. Right? So now this Dave wants to give rupees 600 to the Alex. Again, now it will be checked with the contract, and all the people will come to an agreement that this transaction should not be executed. Okay, because so as per the smart contract, greater than 400 should not be given to anyone, but here the amount is 600. So as per the contract, we are introducing one more new term called as consensus, that is mutual agreement. So all the people are coming together and comes to a decision like, so based on the contract, we are not going to allow this transaction to be happen. So this transaction will be denied by the all the peers or all the nodes. Right? So it will not be recorded in the public ledger. Right. So this is the key idea and the formal definition for the blockchain. So this is what actually happened in this blockchain. So at the process, at this kind of process, as we told, so all these things will be in a blocks. So there will be maintain the confidentiality. So the CIA triad will be executed. Since all the person are having their own public ledger, so availability, there is no problem. When it comes to integrity, so he cannot deny. Dave cannot deny. Oh no, I am not doing this transaction. Likewise, he cannot deny because all the details are entered in the public ledger. Even he may try to tamper his own public ledger. Okay, he may try to tamper his own public ledger, but he cannot tamper the public ledger of Bob, public ledger of Cathy, public ledger of Alice. Right. And when it comes to confidentiality, as we told here by using SHA-256, so all the things will be stored as the hash functions or fingerprints or signature. So this will not be violated. Right. So this is the thing behind this. Right. Now from the examples, so we can say the key characteristics. Yes. So from the example only, just I am taking it as the first key characteristics of the blockchain is consensus. That is the mutual agreement between n number of nodes, or we can say it as n number of people. Here, as in from our example, here four people are there. So one people is doing a transaction, so we can ignore him. The other three people are having their public ledger. So it is very foremost important to have maximum number of, or we can say it as maximum agreement. Right? So maximum agreement is very important here. So if a lot of people are accepting this, means that will be considered as a transaction. Right? So that is the consensus. So here in the consensus, when we are speaking about this, so this will have a proof of stake. Okay, so it will maintain a proof of stake. That means so each and every transaction is properly validated. So we don't have any malicious attacks during the transactions. So during the transmission. Likewise, all the things will be recorded. Next one, based on the multi-signature, maybe like a polling condition, right? So based on the multi-signature, like so the most of their people's idea only. So for example, the three people, at least two should be agree the consensus. That is, three should come to a consensus like above 400. They should not send it to anyone. So at least two people should agree that from our example. So that means the maximum number of validators should be there. So one of the consensus thing. And the next one is sometimes there will be some kind of disputes. Okay, each and everything will have some kind of disputes. So for that, here they are using some practical Byzantine fault tolerance algorithm to settle the disputes. But because each and every consensus, for example, if four people are there, means four public ledgers are there, excluding Dave, means if two are allowing the consensus and if two are denying the consensus, means there will be a dispute. Right, so that they cannot take decision, so whether to allow the transaction or to deny the transaction. So for that kind of situations, so we are going to use the practical Byzantine fault tolerance. So this will be discussed in the upcoming sessions by the eminent speakers. Right, just I want to give a overview, that's all. Right, so this is the thing. Right. So this is regarding the consensus. So it should have some kind of proof of stake. That means the validation should be proper, like security, and it should not be. It's a tampered proof. It's does not attacked by any malicious things. Likewise, it should be recorded, and then multi-signature, and then Byzantine tolerance. And the second one is provenance. That means, so each we are seeing that a lot of transactions are going on. So each and every transaction will have some genesis. Yes. So who is the starter, or who is starting that particular transaction? Who is going to initiate that one? Or where the asset, when we are talking about the asset, where the asset is coming from and where it is going to, or who is the owner of this particular asset, who is the owner of the particular transaction, or who is initiating the transaction, and who are all supporting the transaction. So likewise the provenance should be there. So that is the one of the key characteristics of blockchain. And the next one is immutability. So again, we are discussing this immutability from the beginning itself. So very, very important uh, is immutability. That is, no participants can tamper a transaction of after it has been recorded to the ledger. So if it is an error means, if an error occurred means, it should be, it should not be deleted. Instead of that, it should be re-recorded as a new transaction. So that is the very important characteristics. So that's why the authenticity and the, what we can say, the blockchain is this much developed, this much familiarized, and all the people want to incorporate this blockchain. So that is immutability. And finally, finality. Last, very most important characteristics is finality. When it comes to finality, so the all the things should be traced, or we can say it as tracked. So we have discussed in the what say the definition. So each and every transaction should be tracked. So for example, if an asset is handed over to one more person, for example, for the previous example we can say, so this asset called rupees 100 is with the day. Actually, the owner of the 100 rupees is day. Actually, now he is handing over 600 rupees to cat. That means now in this 1000 here, now Dave can own this 400 rupees only. For 600 rupees, cat is the owner. So the finality is very important thing. At each and every stage, the ownership should be maintained. So at each and every transaction, the ownership should be maintained. So once the transaction is happened, means the ownership should be tracked. Okay, so that property is called as finality. So these are the four very important characteristics, or we can say it as key characteristics of the blockchain. Right. Now, actually, in this example, I have not explained these key characteristics. Just with the basic definition or formal definition, we have seen this transaction. Now, we are going to see one more example. Right? So one more example in a traditional manner as well as in a blockchain manner with the remembrance of this key characteristic, or with keeping these key characteristics in our mind. Right, right. So here I want to take it to another example, that is a car ownership. Right? So from a car manufacturing to car leasing system. Okay, so you may ask whether the leasing system is available. So most part of the India and in abroad, many countries is giving the car for lease. So they won't having the, it's, they no need to purchase a new car. Instead of that, they can take the car for lease. Like in India we are taking the home for lease. Yes, maybe we are executing a 3 years bond, or we can execute 5 years bond. Likewise we will sign a bond paper. Likewise we won't damage the house, we won't do anything. If any damages is occurred during this particular period, we will take all the things and we will correct those things. We will take all corrective actions, and after 5 years we will just give the home back to you, and the bond will be cancelled and the amount will be refunded. Likewise bond will be executed. Like similarly in most of the countries and even in India, we are having car leasing system, right? So now we are going to see this thing, right? So how the ownership will be transferred, right? So first I want to explain it in a traditional manner. Like so, likewise, how you are seeing all those things in a traditional manner and blockchain manner. So, likewise, I am going to explain these two in a traditional manner. Right. First, you see the manufacturing part. So, in a traditional manner, whenever it comes to a manufacturing thing, so it will be recorded in their in-house ledger. Okay, I am repeating, in-house ledger. That is the manufacturing unit's ledger. Right. So in the manufacturing units ledger, what they will record. So in this date, I am going to. So this manufacturing unit is going to develop, or they're going to manufacture this model car, this much unit in this particular time. Likewise, they are recorded, and after the completion of manufacturing, that also will be recorded in their in their in-house ledger, and then it will be given to the dealership. Okay, so if for example if Maruti Swift car, if you are taking Maruti Swift car, so in this 10 days of period they are manufacturing 100 units of car, means it all these things will be recorded in the particular ledger, and then once it's completed, means it will be delivered to different dealership. So all the dealers will, so that also will be recorded in this in this in-house ledger. So this much unit is given to this much dealers, and this much unit is, for example, 10 units is given to this dealer, 10 unit is given to this dealer, 50 units are given to this dealer. Likewise, the record all the things in their in-house register. Now it will be given to dealership. For example, I am taking one dealer. Okay, it's called as Hummer. I think in the image it's shown as Hummer. So maybe if that dealership name is, we say, Hummer. So he will record it as, in this date we received 10 units of Swift car. And he is recorded in his in-house ledger. And now what he is going to do is, as we are saying, discussing about a leasing system, so he is going to propagate this thing to leasing companies. Okay, he is going to propagate. So this much of unit I'm having, so 10 units I'm having, so you can take this for lease, or you can bring it to an auction. Right. Now, once the lease company when visit all those things, you see in between this, now you see this ownership is changed here from manufacturer, it's changed to dealership. Again, from here, the ownership is changed to from dealership to leaser. Now, from that, or we can say it as lease agent. Okay, lease agent. We can say it as lease agent. Now, again, so he will record all those things in his in-house ledger. Now, he will be provided for an auction, right? Or he is giving it for lease. So sometimes auction may happen, or sometimes some people may take it for lease, right? Now, one person is coming. Let's consider one person is coming. He is taking it as in lease. So maybe he is called as lessor. So he is or leaser. So he is taking it, and he is having his own in-house register. He is writing all those things in his in-house register. And finally, yeah, okay. So he's taking it in-house register. Like, see, this is taking a lot of time here. So anyone can tamper. Yes, anyone can tamper that because there is no public ledger. There is no public ledger. All are having their in-house ledgers. So the data may tampered by anyone in the intermediate phase, right? And it can be altered. So immutable property may be changed. And there is no conditions, there is no smart contracts, and there is no common ledgers, and nothing is there. So anything may happen at any phase. Maybe this user may use the car for some days, and he may put the car to a what we can say, or we can say it as scrap. So he may scrap that car, but they may have its own in-house ledger, but there is no coordinated thing, there is no smart contract. Because if I want to scrap a car means in India, so if you want to scrap a car means uh, after 15 years we can scrap it. Yes, even in between we can scrap it, that is not a matter. But so we can use 15 years of time. So when it comes to lease, we have to use it for 15 years. After that only we can scrap it. Just I'm talking about the leasing thing. Like I'm not going to talk about other things. So leasing means, so if a car has like 15 years of fitness certificate as default means, so they can use it for 15 years. After that, they will send it to scrap. But here, so due to uh, what we can say, no decentralized ledger, no shared ledger, or no tamper-proof ledger, so the leaser may put the car to scrap at any time. Again, here the ownership will be changed to this particular person. So if he may deny, so this person, this leaser may deny because he is maintaining a in-house register only. So there is no public register. But if you want to introduce a public ledger means, so we are in need of a regulatory service. You are in need of some sort of regulatory service. So he should maintain all the things in his in-house ledger. Again, this is not a public ledger. This is again one more in-house ledger. Right? So again, so there is he can regulate the things, he can give some rules, but since it is an in-house register, he cannot do anything further. Concept, so based on the blockchain, right? So each and every person will be connected to internet since we are in an internet era. So we know each and every place we are having high bandwidth internet, right? So there will be a common contract and there will be a record for asset transfer. Okay, unlike distributed public ledger, there will be a regulatory, so who will give some contracts. Okay, these are the contracts. So based on this only the transaction can be done. Likewise, some people will create this contract and make it as a mandatory one. So that we are going to see who is going to create a contract. So that we are going to see it in the upcoming class sessions. Now I will explain. So who is going to take the role for this? So which participant is going to take role for this in the final slide? That I will explain. Right. So this is the common contract. So based on this contract, if the smart contract is satisfied means based on the consensus, they can record the transaction for this asset in this particular ledger. Now, this ledger will be, ledger and contract will be shared to every user, or we can say every node,
so that they can access it easily. So they don't need to rely on any centralized thing. They don't need to check the nearby nodes. So they can read their contact and they can see the public ledger whether the transaction is done. So likewise, they can maintain it, right? So here in each and every thing, so the smart contract will be. So as the previous steps, so whenever the manufacturing is done, so based on the contract, so how much can be given to the particular dealership, that will be given here, and that will be recorded in the all the ledgers again. So in the dealership, so how much can be given to the leasing agent. So that will be based on the contract, it will be given. Actually, this contract will be designed by this, or it will be maintained by this regulator. So it will be created by one person, and this will be regulated by this regulatory person, which this person is not going to do any kind of transaction in this ownership transfer. See, this ownership transfer is not going to involve. So that is the main role of the regulator. Right? Just he is regulating all the things, but he is not going to involve in the things. Right? So likewise, all the things will be recorded based on the contract and based on the consensus. So you see here, the provenance will be maintained. The immutability will be maintained. The finality will be maintained, and the consensus will be maintained. Because based on the contract, they will come to a consensus. Right? Based on the consensus, the transaction will be executed and it will be recorded in the ledger. Right? So this is the very brief thing regarding the blockchain. Right now, so we can say some benefits. So what are all the key benefits of what we say blockchain? Is so these are the things comes under the category. These things, six things are very important things, and these are the things for the business in the business point of view. These give very key benefits. Like first one, so time saving. So as we told, so in the previous example we have seen, so to write it in a ledger, they have only in-house ledger. So each and every time they cannot go to the regulatory person and they cannot record the things in the ledger. So this is a time saving one. Right. And the next one is cost saving. Right. So if we want to travel a long distance, because the regulator may in some other place. So he has to travel. He has to travel a lot. Okay, so he or she has to travel a lot, and then maybe time wise also, because so in car production, even in one day they may sell 10 units. So if the time delay occurred means that one day will be waste. So here it comes the cost saving. So also duplications will not be entered here. So that is one of the major advantage. And the tighter security. So tighter security in the sense we can say protect against tampering. Right. So no one can tamper the ledger. Even if a person wants to tries to uh, change his own ledger means, but the common ledger as well as the shared ledger will not be changed. So the tampering will be voided. Fraud. So as well as it will give protect against fraudulence and cyber crimes. Right. So again, so when security wise, when we are speaking about security, the CIA will be maintained, and the privacy. Right. So as I told, so CIA I told, so the privacy will be very enhanced in these things, because so we are storing all the logs in a manner of hash functions like fingerprints. Right. So this will be maintained. The security, sorry, the privacy will be maintained. Right. And then auditability. So one more very important thing is auditability, because the shared ledger we are using. So anyone can audit any transaction at any point of time. So that is very important. And then operational efficiency. So it will be increased. So because that all the things will be in a digitalized form, all the things will be in a decentralized form. So it will improve the operational efficiency. So these are all the key benefits for the business, as well as the concepts. Main concepts for the business is shared ledger, so which we have already discussed. Permissions, again we have discussed. So ensuring appropriate visibility, transactions are secure, authenticated, and verifiable. And then the third one is smart contract. Again, we have discussed those things, and consensus. So these are the key concepts that are incorporated by the business from the blockchain concepts. And finally, we are going to see, so who are all the participants in the blockchain and what are their roles. So the first person is the blockchain user. Right. So the blockchain user is very important person. So he is the participant, actual participant. Maybe he may be a business user, he may be a corporate user, it may be a node, it may be a peer, whatever it may be. So he may be a permission, he may use it in a permission manner or in not permission manner. So a participant with permissions to join the blockchain network and conduct transaction with other participants in the same network. So he is called as the blockchain user. But actually the blockchain will be executed in the background. So that is not a matter. But the user is, he can join in that particular network, he can participate in the network, he can do the records, he can communicate with his fellow peers, fellow nodes, fellow participants, and he can what do you say? He can record any people's record any transactions in his public ledger. Right? So that he is called as blockchain user. Normally in a blockchain operation, so there will be n number of users. So multiple users will be there. That one will be acted as a coordinator. Right. So since it is a decentralized, so maybe multiple coordinators also will be there for multiple groups. And the second user comes the regulator. Again, so regulator is a special kind of user. So actually he is also a blockchain user. So he is a special kind of user who is having some kind of special permissions to oversee the transactions happening within the network. So he is going to check the transaction, what kind of transaction is going on. So whether these are legal. So likewise, he is going to track all kind of transactions, and so he is prohibited from doing transactions. So that is the major drawback, major difference between the blockchain user and the regulator. So first one is, he is having some special permissions to watch all kind of transactions that is happening in the system. The second one is, he is prohibited to do the transaction. So he cannot do transaction, just he is acting as a supervisor. Right. So this is the second user. And the next one, blockchain user. Blockchain developer. So blockchain developer is a programmer so who creates the application for this blockchain, who creates the smart contracts that enables the blockchain. So blockchain, and so he is helping other users to conduct transaction on the blockchain network. So sometimes he will create some application, so which will act as a act as an intermediary between the user and the blockchain. So he is the whole, or we can say is the he is the whole responsible. He has the responsibility for all the things like creating the application, enabling the blockchain operations, creating the smart contract, making the consensus. So likewise, he is having all the responsibilities. And then the next person is called as blockchain network operator. So he is going to monitor the network, right? So he is going to create a network, he is going to manage the network, he is going to monitor the network, he is going to scale the network. If any person wants to join, means he is going to allow the permission. So he is called as blockchain network operator. Right, so each and every blockchain operation will have, or we can say not operation, each and every blockchain network will have a blockchain network operator. Right. So the next one is, so the next actor or participant is traditional processing platform. So we cannot forget the traditional platforms because so that blockchain is familiarized in recent days only. So we are not yet convert all the data to the blockchain oriented. Still, there are a lot of data which is in a traditional thing. So we have to incorporate some traditional processing platform. So the existing computer systems, so that it can be augmented with this blockchain. So it can augment it with the blockchain to initiate the transaction or to store the transaction or to perform a particular transaction. So that is called as traditional processing platform. As well as one more important actor or participant is adding traditional data sources. Okay, that is also very important person because so all the data will be in some kind of different database. Actually, blockchain is a different database that is entirely different from all the available databases. So the data source is very important. So the traditional database, because we have to what we can say, we have to take all the data from the traditional data source, and then only we can create these smart contracts based on the data source, and then only we can enter the data in our databases, and then later communication can be done using this recent database or this blockchain database. So the traditional data source is very important, since as I told in the previous point, so we are not yet incorporated to blockchain entirely. Still, we are lagging in so many things. Now only we are moving to blockchain in a step-by-step manner, right? So this is the thing, that traditional data source is very important and it plays a very key role in this thing. And finally, the certificate authority. So actually, there is a kind of blockchain called permission blockchain. I think that session will be by tomorrow afternoon. Okay, the permission blockchain and some more permissionless. Okay, so in a permissioned blockchain, we are in need of authorization. So the nodes should be authorized, the transaction should be authorized. So for that, the certificate should be issued. So for that, a person or participant getting involved is called as certificate authority. So who issues and manages the different kinds of certificates required to run a permissioned blockchain. So we can say it as example, certificates may need to be issued to blockchain user. So maybe sometimes, so the blockchain user may need a certificate. Sometimes, so to execute a transaction, or sometimes to store a transaction, to write a transaction, to commit a transaction. So there is a need of some kind of certificates, right? So these are the uh, participants and their role in the blockchain. Now, as per my agenda, so I think I have completed all those things. So let's remind all those things. Actually, I have started with what blockchain not, and then later we have discussed what actually the blockchain, or we can say what the idea or what brings blockchain forward. So that thing we have discussed, and so that we have discussed with some practical examples, and then we have discussed about blockchain, so the formal definition of blockchain, and we have discussed it in an elaborate manner, and then so concepts, or sorry, characteristics of the blockchain. So the four major characteristics of the blockchain, again we have discussed it with an example, and then we have entered to the benefits, key benefits in terms of business as well as in terms of what. And then so the key idea behind the, or the key concept behind the business, okay, that actually it is taken from the key characteristics, right? And we have discussed the participants as our benefits, and finally we have discussed the participants and their role. So till this I have completed all those things. So up to this I want to wind this session. So thank you everyone uh, for listening this session. So thank you everyone.
Thank you, John, for your wonderful graphical presentation. Dear participants, if you have any queries, you can unmute yourself or else type in the chat box, please. Participants, any questions? John, you have a question. Will maintaining the transaction in all the participants in makes blockchain complex?
Yeah, yes, it will take little bit complex. So we need some high-end machines or high performance machines to do these kind of transactions. So that is the major drawback. Actually, one more drawback is there in the blockchain. Actually, I think 2 days before it is published. So till this 91 percentage of security related issues are not addressed by blockchain till this. Maybe it's a growing one. So it may be addressed, as well as this complexity may be reduced in near future, because it's a growing topic only and growing technology only. Maybe it will be addressed, but till this it is a complex one only. So to do blockchain operation, it need very high performance machines.
John, you have one more question in the chat box.
So actually, whether machine learning algorithm can be applied to train blockchain? Yeah, yes. So it can be applied in all the domains. So that is the major advantage of blockchain. So it can be applied in any domain, as well as you asked, it can be applied in machine learning, so that we can train to learn the smart contracts. So the smart contracts can be used to, sorry, the machine learning can be used to create the smart contracts and to update the smart contract, because so periodically we have to update the contracts. So as I told that in the banking example, so in one phase the Dave is having rupees 100, but while giving it, so he is having 400 in his account. So this should be updated in the smart contract. Otherwise, the smart contract or the people will think that greater than 1,000 only will be he can send. But actually, he is having only 400 rupees in his account. So that should be incorporated. So by using machine learning, we can update the smart contracts, as well as we can enhance the transaction in the ledgers. That too.
Thank you, John. Moreover, we have more discussion on machine learning and IoT in blockchain on upcoming days. So most probably we'll be having the discussion on Monday, as well as we may have some practical session in the end of our 2 weeks program. Right? Is there any other questions? Okay, with this, I'll conclude the session. Thank you so much, John, for your wonderful presentation and informative discussions you have delivered today.
Thank you, sir.
Very, your presentation, especially your presentation was very good. So, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I hope each and every participants have enjoyed your presentation, as well as they have gained some knowledge through your presentation. Thank you, John. Dear participants, I have posted the feedback link in the chat box. It will be visible maximum of half an hour. So I'll be close the link around 4 o'clock, right? I request all the participants to maintain your attendance and feedback regularly. So otherwise, you may not get the certificates, as I insisted in the group itself. So you have to attend all the sessions properly, and you have to the end of 2 weeks program. That is 27th December. We have an online quiz. You need it consists of 25 questions. You need to score a minimum of 40%. So the both the things you have to be satisfied, otherwise you may not get the certificate. Okay. So I hope everyone has understand. So kindly be in the time so that the session will start as today afternoon. So exactly time schedule we can follow. Thank you one and all. We will meet on tomorrow at 9:45 p.m. Session will start at 10 a.m. So tomorrow we have a resource person called Ramakrishnan, Professor Ramakrishnan Raman from Higher College of Technology, UAE. Right? Thank you one and all. Take care.